The airport sniffer dogs ran towards a suitcase and wouldn't leave it until everyone gathered around. After a series of security checks, airport police opened the box. What they saw was so heartbreaking that it made them cry. In the bustling corridors of Beirut International Airport, Officer Nasser and his four-legged partner Jim embarked on their routine patrol. Jim, a German shepherd with a nose finely tuned for detecting anything suspicious, usually went about his duties with a calm demeanor. However, on this particular day, an ordinary routine would transform into a tale of mystery and intrigue. As they strolled through the airport, surrounded by the orchestrated chaos of travelers and cargo, Jim's ears perked up and his pace quickened as they approached a seemingly unremarkable suitcase that had arrived from Ukraine and was bound for Beirut. The box, just like any other in the bustling cargo area, bore no distinctive features, but something about it had captured Jim's attention. Ordinarily, when the shepherd detected something amiss, his response was a series of vigorous barks that echoed through the terminals. Yet this time, an unexpected twist unfolded. Instead of the familiar barking, Jim emitted a low whimper, and with a sudden burst of urgency, he sprinted toward the unassuming box. In an uncharacteristic display of fear, he swiftly crouched down in front of the suitcase, leaving Officer Nasser perplexed. The seasoned officer with years of experience working alongside Jim recognized the significance of this odd behavior. The dog, usually composed during their routine inspections, had behaved as if encountering something beyond the realm of their usual findings. The officer's intuition tingled with the sense that they were stepping into uncharted territory. The box, having traveled from Ukraine to Beirut, bore a few nearly invisible holes that had piqued the dog's curiosity. The shepherd sniffed around them, and each time he recoiled for a few seconds, as if he was being hit by a foul stench his handler's nose couldn't pick up. Aware of the potential dangers that any unidentified package could pose, the officer decided to exercise caution. The box and its unknown contents became a potential threat that demanded careful scrutiny. It could harbor anything from illegal contraband to explosives. Following protocol, the airport staff called in the bomb disposal team, a specialized unit trained to navigate the delicate task of inspecting and, if necessary, defusing potentially hazardous materials. As the bomb disposal team approached the scene, clad in protective gear, they ushered the box into an isolated room, away from the prying eyes of onlookers. The tension in the air became palpable, and the gathered staff exchanged glances, each fraught with a mix of curiosity and apprehension. Jim the dog remained unusually animated, his tail wagging with an urgency that reflected the gravity of the situation. Inside the secluded room, the bomb disposal team carried out their meticulous examination. The officers outside the room exchanged hushed speculations, their eyes flickering between the closed door and Jim's animated presence. Was there something more to this seemingly ordinary box? Finally, a sigh of relief echoed through the room as the bomb squad declared the package free of any explosive threat. The potential danger that loomed over the airport had dissipated, yet the enigma persisted. The officers, now armed with the assurance of safety, confronted the unresolved question: what had elicited such an unprecedented reaction from Jim? The German shepherd still exhibited a level of excitement that transcended the routine. The officers were experienced in decoding the canine language and recognized the lingering tension in the air. It was as if the dog sought to convey something beyond the confines of traditional signals. Technically, they could just send the box back to the deposit and wait until colleagues at the security checks looked inside with their infrared machines. But the dog's excitement was too intense to ignore, so the officers decided to look more closely at the box. Those tiny holes in the box that seemed not important at first turned out to be a big clue. Officer Nasser, like a detective solving a puzzle, traced the holes with his fingers. As he did that, he noticed a faint smell coming through them, a smell that made everything click. Jim had indeed picked up something odd. The atmosphere, once fraught with the potential danger of explosives, now brimmed with the intrigue of a living mystery hidden within the innocuous box. With the collective decision to open the box, the officers braced themselves for the unexpected. Each movement was deliberate and calculated, and heightened the sense of suspense that lingered in the air. As the lid of the box creaked open, the officers were met with a sight that defied their expectations. Nothing could have prepared them for what they saw. 3 Siberian tiger cubs, shocked by the sudden influx of light, were huddled together within the sawdust. The humans who saw them were equally surprised, and an astonished silence settled upon the room. Officer Nasser found himself momentarily speechless. The revelation of the tiger cub's presence within the nondescript box unfolded a tale that surpassed the officers' training and plunged them into an unfamiliar world of animal negligence. As the officers carefully extracted the cubs from their confinements, the reality of their plight became increasingly evident. The very essence of their existence, intertwined with the wild landscapes they were meant to roam, had been stripped away, replaced by the harsh confines of a crate that lacked even the most basic provisions for their well-being. Frightened and disoriented, the cubs emitted subdued growls. The silence that fell upon the room was deafening, as if the air itself recognized the gravity of their arrival. How long had they been locked away, deprived of sunlight and fresh air? They must have been in that box for a while, because they had feces and sawdust clinging to their fur. The box was filled with parasites and worms, relentless in their invasion. The once pristine fur of the cubs had become a battleground for these tiny invaders. Seeing the pitiful conditions the tiny tigers were in brought tears to the eyes of all who watched them. How had this crate, laden with suffering and despair, gone unnoticed for so long? How had it passed the security checks in the airport of origin? And who was supposed to pick it up? For now, nobody knew. But as the officers carefully took the tiger cubs out of the box, they immediately alerted the competent authorities to find answers. And that's when they learned about the tough journey these little ones had. They were born in a zoo in Ukraine, destined for a future within the confines of the Samar al-Husanawi Zoo in Damascus, and were supposed to be traded for other animals. But the people in charge didn't follow the rules, and the cubs ended up in a crate without proper care. Officer Nasser, who usually dealt with people, now had to figure out how to help these baby tigers. They were dehydrated, and their fur was messy. Out of compassion, the staff used blankets and water they found nearby to make a comfy space for the tigers right there in the airport, but they knew perfectly well that they were out of their depths. Thankfully, when animal control arrived, they took the tiger cubs to a safe place where they could get better. The little ones, now named Maya, Tanya, and Anton, became symbols of bravery. Even though they had a tough start, the officers in animal control made sure they got a second chance at life. The shelter, a haven for animals in need, welcomed Maya, Tanya, and Anton with open arms. Veterinarians and caretakers, experienced in rehabilitating traumatized creatures, awaited their arrival. The tiger cubs, still visibly shaken by their harrowing experience, were placed in a designated area where their recovery would begin. The medical examination revealed the extent of the physical toll exacted upon the cubs. Dehydration, malnutrition, and the psychological scars of confinement were evident. The veterinarian set out crafting a tailored care plan. Fluids were administered to replenish their dehydrated bodies, and a carefully curated diet was designed to nurse them back to health. The shelter became a sanctuary of renewal, a place where the wounds inflicted upon these majestic creatures would be tended to with the utmost dedication. Back at the airport, the officers had a lot to think about. They wanted to make sure the people responsible for the mistreatment faced consequences. They also hoped that by sharing the story, more people would know about the importance of treating animals with care and kindness, no matter where they come from or where they are going. The little tiger cubs, with their second chance at a better life, showed everyone that sometimes heroes can be found in unexpected places. Even at the airport. As the tale of the tiger cubs unfurled, the details of their harrowing journey across borders came to light. They were part of a litter born in a zoo in Ukraine, innocently entering the world with a destiny predetermined by the actions of humans. The deal was to exchange the tigers for wild cats, and it was legal, according to the zoo director in Mykolaiv. Vladimir Topchi, the zoo's director, maintained the legality of the deal and emphasized customs declarations and paperwork as evidence of compliance. The crate that arrived at Beirut International Airport bore no markings, no documents, and did not meet the international regulations such as those set forth by the International Air Transport Association, IATA, or Convention on the International Trade in Endangered Species, CITES, despite the fact that the 4-month-old Siberian tigers fell under that category. The absence of basic information, such as up or down signs on the transportation boxes, coupled with the filthy conditions within the crate, pointed to a systematic failure that transcended national borders. Further investigation into the circumstances surrounding the tiger cubs' transport unfolded. The spotlight turned to the zoo director in Ukraine, the orchestrator of this inhumane endeavor. Details emerged of a transaction that involved the exchange of these innocent beings, but with no actual specifics about their means of transport or health conditions. Word spread of the tiger cubs' rescue, and the public's response was a mixture of outrage and compassion. The narrative, propelled by the unexpected heroes of the airport police and their vigilant sniffer dog, captured the hearts of a global audience. Social media platforms buzzed with discussions about the perils of animal trafficking and the importance of stringent regulations to safeguard wildlife. Animal rights activists, strengthened by the evidence presented by Animals Lebanon, intensified their calls for justice and stricter regulations to prevent such inhumane treatment. They petitioned a Lebanese judge to release the tigers into their care. The following week, the judge granted their request. Jason Mayer, the executive director, and his team immediately mobilized to ensure the tiger cubs received the specialized care they desperately needed. The legal proceedings also ignited a renewed push for accountability within the wildlife trafficking industry. The case prompted international organizations to scrutinize existing regulations and advocate for more stringent measures to protect animals during transportation. The shocking details of the tiger cubs' journey became a rallying point for a broader conversation about the ethics of the exotic pet trade. In the aftermath of the court order, Animals Lebanon collaborated with global wildlife conservation organizations to establish a comprehensive framework for the ethical transport of animals. Their efforts aimed not only to address the immediate needs of Maya, Tanya, and Anton, but also to prevent similar incidents from occurring in the future. Following their release to Animals Lebanon, the 3 Siberian tiger cubs entered a new chapter of their lives under their dedicated care. The cubs' adjustment to their new environment was a delicate process. Accustomed to the confined space of a crate, the open and spacious enclosure initially overwhelmed them. Caretakers observed their behavior closely, ensuring that the transition was gradual and tailored to the unique needs of each cub. Maya, the smallest of the trio, showed signs of increased curiosity despite her initial timidity. Tanya, the middle cub, exhibited a more cautious approach, while Anton, the largest, displayed a surprising degree of playfulness. The distinctive personalities of the cubs began to emerge as they explored their surroundings, cautiously testing their newfound freedom. To address the psychological scars left by their traumatic journey, Animals Lebanon enlisted the support of animal behaviorists. The experts observed their cubs' interactions, noting any signs of anxiety or distress. Enrichment activities were introduced to stimulate their cognitive abilities and provide outlets for their natural instincts. Toys, climbing structures, and hidden treats encouraged the cubs to engage with their environment, fostering a sense of security and normalcy. The rehabilitation process also involved human interaction to build trust and mitigate any lingering fear. Caretakers spent time near the enclosure, gradually acclimating the cubs to their presence. Slowly but surely, Maya, Tanya, and Anton began to recognize the humans around them as sources of care rather than threats. As the days turned into weeks, the physical transformations in the cubs were evident. Their fur, once matted and stained, regained its luster through meticulous grooming and treatment for parasites. The debilitating effects of malnutrition began to fade as the cubs eagerly consumed the nourishing meals provided by the dedicated staff. The emotional healing was equally profound. The subdued growls and frightened stares that marked their initial days gave way to more confident and relaxed behavior. The once disoriented cubs now roamed their enclosure with a newfound sense of assurance, a testament to the transformative power of compassionate care. In addition to their physical and emotional well-being, the shelter prioritized the cubs' social development. Siberian tigers are known for their solitary nature, but the bond formed during their shared ordeal prompted caretakers to allow Maya, Tanya, and Anton to remain together. The companionship between the three became a source of comfort and support as they navigated the challenges of rehabilitation. The success of the rehabilitation efforts drew attention not only from the local community, but also from international wildlife organizations. Collaborative initiatives were established to share knowledge and best practices, creating a network of support for similar cases around the world. The lessons learned from Maya, Tanya, and Anton's rehabilitation would contribute to the ongoing refinement of protocols for rescuing and rehabilitating animals rescued from the clutches of illegal wildlife trafficking. The rehabilitation journey of these three tiger cubs extended beyond the physical confines of the shelter. Plans were set in motion to reintroduce them to a more natural environment where they could thrive and contribute to the conservation of their species. Discussions with reputable wildlife sanctuaries and conservation organizations aimed to ensure a seamless transition for the cubs as they took their next steps towards a life closer to their wild heritage. What an extraordinary tale of resilience and compassion! Witnessing the remarkable journey of Maya, Tanya, and Anton has been nothing short of awe-inspiring. What would you do if you found a suitcase full of animals that are being trafficked? Do you think the people responsible for this situation should have received heavier sentences? Share your thoughts and reactions in the comments below. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.